happy Sunday. So as you've seen from that footage before, I have started off on a pretty good diabetes day. I'm in Target and I had a good night. I was in Target for the most part of the night, which is a bonus as well. So yeah, good start. Let's see how the rest of the day pans out though. I had just taken my long-acting insulin, so this is the insulin. Oh, hi baby. Are you just scratching? Are you just scratching? Hi. You want to go for a... Do you want it? I'm going to take him out for a walk. I have just taken my long-acting insulin and I've taken 20... This one is desperate to go out as well. You just desperate to go out for a puppy too? Oh. Anyway, so I have just taken my long-acting insulin, which was 26 units. And that's going to cover me from about 9 o'clock until around about 9 o'clock tonight. And then I'll do the same at 9 o'clock tonight. I'll take another 26 units, which will last me from 9 o'clock tonight until 9 o'clock the next morning. So that's what I'm kind of working on at the moment. I have to do it twice in the morning. You would have seen there I've taken it twice because my body just doesn't seem to take a big chunk of insulin too well. I usually start to get lumps if I take a big chunk of insulin at one time. So I do split it in two, which is a pain, like quite literally, because I'm taking one more needle than I should be taking. Plus the fact that because I don't change the needle, which I should change the needle every time I inject, but because I don't change the needle becomes a little bit finer, a little bit less sharp, and therefore it's a bit more difficult to pierce the skin with it. So I should really change the needle at that point, but then I'm just going through so many needles and that's putting a strain on the NHS, if I'm completely honest. So I'm just doing my bit for the NHS. Right, I'm going to go take the dogs out for a walk and then we'll see if we can get some food content, because I'll have to show you what kind of food I eat or how I dose my insulin compared to the carbohydrates that I'm going to be eating in that day. You want to come for a food? Come here. You want to go for a food? Come on then, come here. Come on now. Okay, so although that wasn't a strenuous walk, it was only probably less than a mile, it wasn't too strenuous for my other dogs, it was still a form of exercise, so I am going to test my blood sugar again to see if it's done anything to it. Like I say, it wasn't strenuous, so hopefully it won't have done too much to my blood sugars. I will be annoyed if my blood sugars have risen. That's one of those things that I'm going to have to try and figure out how to combat, but yeah, let's have a look. So that's still steady. I'm pleased with that. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up this mess behind me because it's an absolute embarrassment. I don't know how it gets in this state on a weekend, but it does. So I might do that as a bit of a speed cleaning video. But once I've done that, I'm going to get some brunch. 11 o'clock maybe by the time I get something to eat, and I will show you what I'll be having for breakfast, brunch, and calculate the insulin units as per the carbohydrates in that meal. Okay, so it's a little bit later now. It took me a little bit longer to clean the kitchen than I thought it would do, and that was mainly because of all the plates and dishes and cutlery, everything like that that needed washing. I can't believe how much there was. So it's a bit later now, it's about 12 o'clock. So I'm feeling like I have a bit of low blood sugar. I haven't eaten since last night, so it could just be hunger. I'm starting to feel a little bit shaky, which is one of the symptoms of low blood sugar, which is a hypo. My tummy's rumbling a lot, which could be hunger, but again, because I'm feeling a little bit shaky, it could be low blood sugar. I do anticipate when I check my blood sugar in a second that I will be aiming towards the 4 rather than mid-range. So we're going to check that now, and if that's the case, I'm going to be having dinner anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But let's check out that blood sugar. So I actually wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be more towards the 4 than the 9. In fact, it's over the target range by about 0.7. So I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be lower because of the way I'm feeling. So it must just be hunger, in which case I just need to get something to eat and take some insulin to counteract that. It's just gone 12, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to have for lunch. I'll show you the carbohydrate that I'm counting in this meal, and then I'll take some insulin units to counteract the carbohydrates. But I'll take the insulin about 10-15 minutes before I actually sit down and eat, and that just gives the insulin time to kick in. I think I'm just going to have a bacon sandwich. It's nothing fancy, but I do fancy a bacon sandwich. I think I'll just have one. I usually have two, but I'll have one today. So 4 large poppy seed white baps, and I have to check the carbohydrate portions in said meal. Carbohydrates that I'm going to be eating per bap is carbohydrate 40.2 grams, of which are sugars 3.5. I am actually looking at the whole carbohydrate rather than just the sugars. So I work on a 1 unit of insulin per 10 grams of carbohydrates. So this meal is probably going to be about 4 units at the moment. I need to see if I'm going to have anything else with the meal to add on to that, and then we'll calculate again. Because I'm having a bacon sandwich, I am going to have some bacon. And it would be right at the bottom, wouldn't it? So I've got some bacon. There's not many carbs in meat of any sort. There's no actual nutritions on the back, but I know that bacon has relatively no carbohydrates in the meal, so I don't need to count any kind of insulin for the carbs in this. So that means I need to take 4 units of insulin since I'm working on a 1 unit to 10 grams of carbohydrates. So I'm going to take that now. I will take an extra unit of insulin just because my blood sugars were riding a little bit higher than 9. Hopefully I should remain within the target range after I've eaten my meal. Whilst I'm doing my insulin, I do accumulate a lot of these used needles, and obviously they're dangerous to other people. Well, they're dangerous to myself as well if they're left long enough, but they're especially dangerous to anyone else who picks them up. They're dangerous to other people, so I do need to put them away in the shops box before I end up accumulating quite a few of them. And I know Darren gets a bit off with me when these are lying around the house because the dogs have had 1 or 2 encounters with the needles before. I don't want that to happen again. So in about 5 minutes, I think I'm going to start cooking the bacon and buttering my bun, and then I can have my dinner in 10 minutes. So I'm going to be straight up honest and say that this isn't a healthy meal for a diabetic, but it's tasty and I don't see why I should have to refrain from eating the stuff I like because I have this condition. I just need to adapt and make sure that I'm looking after myself in other ways. I'm not a bad eater. I don't necessarily think that I eat a lot of shit, but this meal could be better for a diabetic. I could have perhaps cut the fat off, but that's what makes a bacon sandwich all the better, isn't it? One puppy bacon, 2 puppy bacon. Well, that was a very, very tasty bacon sandwich, and I'm pleased I had the bacon sandwich. I'm now just drinking some Diet Iron Brew, which is one of my favourite drinks. But it's diet, it doesn't have any carbohydrates in at all. And that's because it's not made of sugar, it's made with sweeteners instead. So I'm free to drink as much Diet Iron Brew as I want. I can drink any diet pop as long as it doesn't have any carbohydrates in. Then again, I can drink full fat or non-diet pop. Diabetics typically drink that when they're having low blood sugar because it's quite a quick, fast acting sugar. It gets into your bloodstream a lot quicker. So diabetics do tend to avoid it. Because it's Sunday, I'm not doing much else. I'm just going to be doing some more speed cleaning. I've done the kitchen and now I need to tackle the living room, which is an absolute pigsty. And then I need to do the bedroom and the bathroom as well. When Darren comes home, I'm hoping to get the clippers out and do his hair. It's grown a little bit long now, so I am going to try and give it a trim or something. I'm not too sure. We'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. So it's been about an hour and a half since I finished off my dinner, and I'm now going to check my blood sugar as a final kind of decision maker on whether I need to inject any more insulin to cover this meal. And I have been testing my blood sugar through this last hour and a half. It's been fairly steady, so I shouldn't need to take any more insulin, but here goes, we'll have a check. So my blood sugars are still in target, but the arrow was pointing up. It's pointing up at an angle like that rather than straight up or flat. So that says to me that my sugars might be going higher, and I should probably keep an eye on it in the next half an hour just to see if they have spiked or risen at all. So yeah, I'll check back in about half an hour. This is the thing about diabetes, is that everything's different. Like every food you eat, unless you eat the same thing every day and you know exactly what it does to your body, it's always a guessing game, and it is frustrating. It's a pain in the backside, it really is. So it's another half an hour. I've got to check to make sure that they're not going out of target, and hopefully I won't need to take any insulin to combat it. So I am just sitting doing some editing, and I did just check my blood sugar. It's actually 7.7 at the moment, and it was a steady line, so I don't think I'll need to make any adjustments like I said in the previous clips. I think I've negotiated dinner quite well today. So it's a couple of hours later. I have been tidying up the house, doing a bit of a speed clean episode, and I've been up and down the stairs, either taking the laundry down or bringing the hoover upstairs, or because the hoover hasn't got an actual head to hoover the floor with, I've been on my hands and knees hoovering, so that's made me wake up a little bit of a sweat. So I'm hoping that's going to be reflected in my blood sugar levels. I'm going to test my blood sugar now because I haven't done it whilst speed cleaning, just because I've been filming on my phone. So I am going to check it now, and hopefully we'll see a blood sugar reading towards the bottom end of the target range. So there we go, that was 3.8 with an arrow heading down, which means that it could be going lower. And I had a feeling that would be the case because I have been doing a bit of exercise, I have been back and forward, working up a little bit of a sweat. So what I'm going to do now is, because it was going low and it was going hypo according to the Freestyle Libre app, I am going to prick my finger and test my blood with a device to see if that is actually the case, that it is 3.8 or below 4 anyway. If it is, I will treat as a hypo and I'll have a bit to eat. As you saw there, it was 4.8 when I tested my blood on the device, and the Freestyle Libre app, it doesn't test the blood, it tests, like, I can't think of the word, I'll put it on the screen, whatever the word is, but it actually tests a different kind of fluid rather than the blood. So it very well could be that the Libre is indicating that I'm going low, but as it currently stands, I'm not exactly low at the moment. So I can either leave it as it is, test again in about 10 minutes, or I can have a little bite to eat and bring my sugars up just a little bit so that I'm back into a comfortable range. And I think I might do that because I'm feeling a little bit hungry as it is right now anyway. So yeah, let's have a bite to eat. Now there's plenty of carby things. I just want something that's going to bring me up just a little bit, and I have actually been enjoying some dark chocolate. So carbs in dark chocolate per 100 grams is about 50, but per 4 pieces it's 8.3, so that's less than 10 grams. So I could probably have 4 pieces and it won't rise too much. Is Oakley gonna get his collar on? We're gonna go poopy. Just been out for a walk with the dogs. It wasn't too strenuous, it was just the same route that I did this morning. But before we went out, I tested my blood and it was 8.1. So I'm going to test it again and see if the exercise has made any difference to the blood sugars. Let's check it out. So as you saw there, the blood sugar was 7.5, which is all good. Now I'm going to make some dinner. I'm going to make some pasta with chorizo and peppers, and we have this every week. So I'm going to show you how I make it and how I calculate the carbohydrates, ready for injecting some insulin. Obviously, it's worth pointing out as well that not all food items have the nutritional value on the back of the packet. Some items of food doesn't have packaging, so I use the Carbs and Cows app here, which gives a bit of an estimate of what carbohydrates are in each food. Dallas just drinking in the background, if you can hear that. Pasta is one of those which it has the amount on the back of the packet, but we don't necessarily use the amount in that packet. If we search for pasta, it comes up with various options of meals. We actually have pasta shells, which I'll be using today, and typically in each meal we have around about this much visually, which is about 50 carbs, so that's how much I'll count for. A little bit bigger plate is 70 carbs, so I could potentially do 60 grams of carbs, in which case I'll inject 6 units of insulin. Whilst that's cooking, I'm going to take some insulin. I'm probably going to take about 10 units, 10 grams of carbohydrate per garlic bread slice, and I'm going to have about 4 of them, and then I'm guesstimating about 60 grams of carbohydrates in the pasta and the pasta sauce with the vegetables as well. So maybe 10 units, 10 or 11 units, we'll see. Okay, so that's simmering away. So I've just taken my insulin before. That was about 5 minutes ago now, and it'll be about another 5 minutes before tea will be ready. By that point, the insulin should have started to work, and it should counteract the carbohydrates when I complete the meal. With 5 bits, and that one's mine with 4. So I'm guesstimating about 110 grams of carbohydrates, but I could have underestimated this, so I might have to take a little bit more. I'll just have to check my blood sugars a little bit after eating. Bon appetit! I always leave the chorizo and the mozzarella till last. It's the best bit. I've just finished my tea and it was lovely, but now I quite fancy something to eat for dessert. So I'm going to have one of my pots of joy, which have about 20 or 30 grams of carbohydrates in. So we'll check that over, and then I will dose up as necessary. because my insulin should still be working to counteract the carbohydrates in my meal, I should just need to take my insulin and I can eat these straight away. I might just give it 5 minutes after I've taken my insulin for these two. So that's about 30 grams of carbohydrates there. Might take 4 units just to be on the safe side. I swear this has felt like the longest day of testing blood sugar and taking insulin in my whole entire life, but we're on the home stretch. I need to check my blood sugar now after eating the carbohydrates in my meal, and then I will do a final insulin injection at 9 o'clock. I'm going to check that again in maybe half an hour because I'm not too sure that that's going to stay nice and steady as it looks. I feel like it's going to go a bit low, so I will check it in about half an hour and see how it goes from there. And by that point, I should be doing my second bout of long-acting insulin.
Ow. Doesn't it work if you have it turned on? I know, I felt it.
I'm just saying how...
Well, that's...
Right,
Right,
okay.
that's like 2 inches there.
Yeah.
And 21 is 3/4 inch. Almost.
And then if I take it, so the longest shave will be 21 inches, but down the bottom it'll be not 21 inches, 21 inches. It'll be, shall I go 17 or 15 or 13.
Depends how big the arse is.
Right, so it's about 9 o'clock now, so I need to take my long-acting insulin, which will be about 26 units. I have a feeling I'm going to be on the low side. I feel a bit shaky at the moment, so I think I may have taken too much insulin for the carbohydrates I ate today. Let's go test it. Libra's reading 3.4, so I'm going to have to finger prick again and see what the blood result is compared to the Libra. It might be a little bit higher, but I still feel like I'm hypo. I'm having a bit of the shakes, so it's going to be hypo symptoms. It's definitely a hypo because I can't string my words together. My brain's like this most of the time, but right now I really can't think of the word I want to use to describe what is happening. Right, okay. When you have a hypo, you haven't got enough sugar going to the brain, and so you start to feel dizzy, you start to feel shaky, you can't put words together properly, you get confused, and that's how I'm feeling right now. So I'm definitely having a hypo. I'm just going to see how much of a hypo I will be having by finger pricking. So it wasn't below 4, but it was still quite low. So yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of food to eat. This is the problem with really trying to look after your diabetes, is that sometimes you overcompensate the insulin for the amount of food you have and your blood sugars go too low. And because that's a quicker onset than high blood sugar, it can be quite dangerous faster. I still can't get my words out properly. And I'm not even like officially hypo. I'll get there, but it's going to take a lot of this to really get the grips on it and understand how my body reacts to insulin. So 14 years of it and you would think I would know how it reacts, but anyway, it's long-acting insulin time, so I'm going to inject that now, and then hopefully that'll be the last of the injections for today. Need to on this side. And it is on this side. Whoops. I haven't taken too much off the top. In fact, I haven't took any off the top apart from the sides.
What's on the top?
So the sides. And I certainly haven't taken any from the front.
For the money maker.
It's alright. What do you think, Darren? So you've seen today that although I haven't done much today, I've still had to do a lot with my diabetes in terms of checking and correcting, dosing, everything like that. Even though it's been a quiet day, I've just done some housework and cut Darren's hair. But it's still been a chore having to look after my diabetes. And I'm still not done yet. I've still got to check my blood sugar before I go to bed to make sure that I'm steady before I fall asleep. Otherwise, whilst I'm asleep, my blood sugars could either go high or low, and then that's what 8 hours of not knowing whether I'm doing well or not. You know, if I'm asleep, that's 8 hours of my blood sugars potentially being high. If I'm asleep and my blood sugars go low, then I might sleep through it, in which case that's extremely dangerous because I might not realise I'm going low and therefore go into a coma whilst I'm asleep. Things like this. I still have to check my blood sugar before I go to bed. I might even have to wake up in the middle of the night to check what my blood sugars are doing. It's non-stop. Just imagine if today was a day where I was extremely stressed at work, busy, I had all sorts going on in my life, and then I had to look after myself, diabetes-wise as well. It's difficult. This should hopefully be the last time I check my blood sugar tonight, so we're going to do that now. So my blood sugar was 9.1 with an arrow pointing up, which means that it's meant to be going up quite rapidly, and with it already being above the target range, I'm going to check my blood sugar now and see if I need to make a final adjustment to my insulin. So it was 9.4, which, because the arrow was pointing up on the Freestyle Libre app, I am going to take an extra unit of insulin, and hopefully that'll see me through the night. I'm going to do that now, then I'm going to go to bed. Hey baby!
What's this supposed to be, Brian?
Come on then, Dal!
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 Dal! Excuse me, I say it's the big cough, it's got a toy.
Get a toy. There we go, little baby. So that was my day in the life of a type 1 diabetic, and I will see what my blood sugars are like in the morning, but hopefully that one extra unit would have done the trick. So good night, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.